Hey guys, it's Rusty here. How are you all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. We're doing more control pad talk. I know you guys are really keen to hear about controllers at the moment, so I'm going to quickly, this is a review, so I'm going to review each of the three fight pads that I've been talking about of late, varying from my favourite, my go-to, to the two new ones that come out. And I'm going to tell you my opinion of which one is the best pad and why, for various reasons. So, pads we're talking about today, the Hori Fighting Commander. Has been my hero for the last 3-4 years. The PowerA Fusion Fight Pad, which is that one there, very good looking pad. I love this pad for its looks. And the recently released Razer Rayon Fight Pad. So this one's a very good control pad as well. They're all good for their, in their respective areas. But this one's the latest one, a nice addition. Didn't even know it was coming out, to be fair, until they announced it, and then it came out for purchase by Razer. So that's the three control pads I'm going to go over in as much detail as possible. I'm going to tell you the reasons why, if I was to pick one, which one I'd go for. It's not straightforward though, guys, never is it? I don't have the Mad Catz Pro version 2 fight pad because, to be honest, it was a load of rubbish. If you guys remember the video I did on that one, I actually removed the analog stick from it so I could play better on the pad. So I broke it to use it because the analog stick was in the way. I never used it at all, so it ended up in the bin straight up. It was a trash control pad, terrible. So yeah, that one, rip, never made it to the video, never made it this far in the cut. So three control pads. I'm going to talk about build quality first, then I'm going to talk about like the feel of the control pad, then I'm going to talk about basically the reasons why I prefer the ones I prefer. I'll go in order, we'll rate them in order. So, build quality. Number 3 on the list, the third place for build quality is unfortunately the Hori Fighting Commander. It's a good pad, it does the job, it's built as best as possible. It's not best as possible, it's good enough to play with. It costs between what, 30 and 40 pounds, depends where wherever you get it from. So it's relatively cheap for what it is, but you get what you pay for as well. It's it's plasticky, it's light, it's very clicky. If you threw it at a wall, it probably smashed to bits. That's the kind of like build quality I'm talking about. But it does the job. All the buttons feel good. The only thing that lets it down, which I've spoken about many times, is the look at the mirror here, is the D-pad. So the D-pad begins to get a wobble in it over time. You can probably see that a little bit there, but it doesn't massively affect gameplay, but it does sometimes affect your inputs, but it's not huge. I'll discuss that later on in the video. But yeah, this is the more flimsy and plasticky one, the cheaper feeling of the three pads. In my opinion, second place goes to the Rayon. Again, it has like a plasticky feel to it. It reminds me of the Mad Catz pad actually. It feels better than the Hori. It is a lot better than the Hori. There's a lot more stuff going on with it in terms of functionality, but it still has that real plasticky, light feel. Like again, if you dropped it, you'd feel like you'd really damage this pad. But yeah, it's by no means a cheap pad. You know that by the price tag. So of course that leaves PowerA. PowerA, the texture of the controller, the choice of this, I love the way this feels, the texture on this. The buttons, I love the glossy buttons, the way they feel. Everything feels, it's tight, it's tidy, very neat. It just feels great in the hands. And it's got weight to it. The reason why it's got weight to it, I've taken this apart, I've opened it up, is because there's a metal like piece in each side there. You can actually remove them if you want to, but that's what gives it the weight. The weight even makes it feel quality as well. But the build quality, when I took this apart, it's so tidy inside. You can't really make a mess when you take it apart. It's really impressive. So build quality, 100% PowerA, really like it. Right, so I'm going to talk about functionality and price. We'll put it together. Functionality, again, comes dead last. It doesn't have anything on it at all. Has no touchpad, has no jack for your audio, so no 3.5mm jack. It is just a plain fight pad. It's built for purpose, this. So you've got your buttons, you've got your toggles to switch, so you can actually change the D-pad to either be the D-pad, left stick, right stick with a toggle, which is toggle there, and then you've got a toggle on the bottom there, which is for PS3, PS4, and PC. And there's a toggle at the top there, which enables you to, if it's pushed to the left, like that, you can use 4 standard PS4 buttons and the 4 shoulder buttons, so that works. If you switch it to the right, it's like fight pad mode, so you can use all 6 of the front facing buttons. That is R1, that's R2, and then what happens is R1 and R2 on top become L1 and L2, so this switches to that side, so that's where you get the 8 button layout. Same for all 4 pads, so I won't bother to explain that for all 4 pads, exact same functionality. And these two become, I believe they become L3 and R3. You know when you press down the analog sticks, you press them down, that's what they become. So functionality very limited on this pad, but it does the job, and it's a good pad. Second place goes to the PowerA. The PowerA pad, it has got everything that I just mentioned, that the Hori has, but the addition is it has the 3.5mm audio jack in the bottom. There's nothing really more. It's USB-B, but it's got a removable wire. And the wire's premium quality as well. It's like a braided wire. So that's really nice. Very nice pad. And the thing with this as well is you can take the faceplates off. So they're removable. You can change them. I've got a black one and a white one. I don't think I've got them with me here actually. Let's have a quick look. No, you saw my ball patch then. No, I haven't got the faceplates available, but they're in my box, wherever the box is. But yeah, they're just held on with like magnets, so very easy to remove, very easy to reapply, and they don't fall off either when you're playing. But what I found is, I think it actually feels better without them, but I'll explain why later. So that's PowerA. Functionality wise, the winner is the Razer. Reason being is because it's got the addition of touchpad. That's a big deal, man. That's really good. It's also got your audio jack, like the PowerA, but you can turn off. You've got a button here to turn off your audio. So I don't know, I haven't tried it myself, but you can switch audio off, switch audio on. This one, so this is PC and PS4. The PowerA was a PC pad, well, PC Xbox pad, so you can't really compare it. I believe there's a mode on it. World Warrior mentioned it, a tournament mode. Tournament mode, however you activate it, it stops you from pressing like the PlayStation button when you're playing offline, which often causes disqualifications in tournament matches. That's a neat little feature, but not something I've used myself. But yeah, feature-wise, this has got the most features. We spoke about price tags. We'll talk about that in this section as well. It's in similar order. That's the cheapest. You know why? Lack of features and build quality. That comes in at, so the Hori is like between 30 and 40 pounds. This one is more expensive in terms of price. This is 55 pounds, but you know why? Premium quality control pad, really good quality, and you've got the audio jack as well. It's just you're paying more for a better built control pad. And then this bad boy, I think it's 89 pounds at the moment on offer, but that offer I don't know how long it's going to last. It will retail at 100 pounds basically. That's a lot of money for this control pad. I'm guessing it's because they've used things like they've got an 8-way D-pad, which I'll talk about later. They've used switches for these buttons and the addition of the touchpad. There's a lot of stuff that's packed into this, so I can see why it's more expensive. If the PowerA is 55, this one is more. I understand why, but £100 is a lot of money. Now you've got to really be sure that this is what you need if you're going to spend that kind of money. So that falls in line with the more features, the higher the price goes basically. I'm going to talk about feel now. This is where I get really passionate about control pads. Feel. All right. Bet you didn't expect that, did you? This control pad, remember, this is not my preference, this is how it feels. I love the D-pad. The D-pad feels really, really good. But these buttons don't have any feedback at all. They've got no life to them. No pop. You can hear quite close to the mic. That's a small press. That's a hard press. It's got a really like lackluster noise and feel to it. That's not good in my opinion. I know it's by design. I know why they've done it because they want them to be super sensitive, but I don't think that's a good thing at all. Shoulder buttons as well are quite, to be fair, the shoulder buttons are fine, but that's pretty whack if I'm honest. The D-pad however feels really good, but this really spoils it in my opinion. Otherwise the pad itself feels great, and we just talk about buttons here anyway, so that comes in at third. Second is the PowerA. Now I'll say outright, this isn't my preferred pad of the three, but in terms of the feel, the feedback on these buttons, these buttons are tighter than the Hori. You've got to press them to get feedback, but that's part of why I like it. It feels great. The D-pad as well, it's obviously not as good as the Razer control pad, but it does feel great, man. This is basically modeled on the old Genesis / Mega Drive and Sega Saturn pads. That's what this is here. That's the design they've gone for. It's exactly the same, and it does feel like them. These were the D-pads that I used back in the day on those consoles. So it's got a lot of movement. It does move a lot, I'll be honest, but it's not a bad thing. You just got to get used to it. It feels good enough, does the job. It's got triggers on the back, but they feel nice. You know, you don't have too much travel. You've got to press them. These buttons are the letdown on this pad. These shoulders are super sensitive, much more sensitive than the ones on the Razer pad. That's probably the letdown of this pad. But if I'm honest, you can get used to this. It's not a deal breaker, which I kind of said they were in the other video, my overview. These face buttons, they're really weird. You can get used to them and they're not a problem, but they just, put it this way, D-pad feels better on the Razer than the PowerA. It's significantly better in my opinion, but how bad these buttons, how sensitive they are, for me personally, I much prefer these buttons, and I'd prefer the feel of this pad over this pad because of the buttons, including the D-pad. That makes sense. If I was to trade off one thing for the other, I'd go for this one for feel. And obviously that leaves the cheaper Hori. Everything about this D-pad and the buttons, as much as I've moaned about the D-pad, it does the job well. This D-pad, like, it works really well with Street Fighter 5 because the inputs are quite easy on Street Fighter 5. I've always moaned about the diagonal, the fact that it has no diagonal, but you know what? Inputs are so, as long as you're clean, the inputs are so clean on this D-pad. And it kind of contradicts everything I said about the control pad. Now I've got other options available, I've tested them. It's unbelievable how accurate this D-pad is. But again, it depends on the player. If you're making mistakes, then that's on you really. And that's kind of like what I've realised with this control pad. Buttons, they've got similar feedback to the PowerA. They're not as tight as the PowerA, but they're bigger. And that's a big deal. Big buttons are what you want for fighting games. You want, you know, accuracy. So bigger buttons help with that. But they've got the right feedback. And, it's 4 shoulder buttons there. Perfect feedback. It's fair, the back ones are a bit lighter than the front ones, but there's good feedback on those. It feels, I've got to admit, man, this is a really good control pad, and it's cheaper as well. Right, so if I was to pick a control pad, I think you guys already know what I'm going to say here, but if I was to pick one on all those criteria, I'm going to go backwards. In last place comes the PowerA, and this is my opinion on which one comes last. I don't like the sensitive shoulder buttons. I don't like that these are triggers, and I don't like the position of the D-pad. For me, I can't really show you because I'm holding it up to the camera. My thumbs, I can't really, if I do it that way, they don't sit naturally on the D-pad, but I said this on every video, I've got big hands, so maybe that's why they're not suited for my large hands, you know what I mean, jazz hands. So yeah, I don't think they're suited for my hands. The D-pad sits quite low for me, so when I'm using it, I use ball of thumb. I've been using ball of thumb for years, and it's really hard to get out of that method of holding the D-pad. I've gone to tip, and I've been playing like that for a few weeks. It just doesn't. I play much better when I use ball of thumb. End of story. it doesn't quite work with my long fingers and thumbs, using the ball of my thumb, so it should be a bit higher for me personally, but that's personal preference. But yeah, these feel great. The control pad itself feels great, but the shoulders, I can deal with them, but these are way too sensitive. Those aren't such a problem, but they shouldn't be triggers. But the D-pad definitely sits way too low for me, and it's got a little bit too much movement as well. It really moves a lot. But what I noticed with this control pad is, if you remove the faceplate, this, for whatever reason, does feel better. You can really get your thumb in this groove that's around it. The faceplate obviously lifts, it adds an extra layer of like on top of the whole control pad, so your thumb doesn't really sit in this area quite as well. I'll often find the tip of my thumb is like sitting on the rim. Because the faceplates are off, it does, in my opinion, play better without the faceplate on, which obviously isn't by design, but just the way it is. So that comes last in terms of preference. It's unfortunate, but it's a really nice pad. Don't overlook it because I've just said I don't like it. It may mean that I don't like it. You may like it. It just depends. You've got to try them out to feel what feels right for you. I've had feedback on this control pad from other people that bought it. There's one guy that said he played it on Third Strike and he loves it. It's his new pad. So it works for some people. So bear that in mind. But that comes last place. That's third. An honourable mention, but it's not first place. It's not second. You ready for this, guys? Which one will it be? It's the Razer. The buttons, they're bigger than the standard PS4 buttons, but they're a little bit small for me compared to the competitors. I don't like the feedback on these. It's not a deal breaker, but I really don't like the way they feel. I've seen EX moves come out because I've slightly pressed the button next to the button I want many times, and that's only like after a couple of days worth of playing. Don't like them. The D-pad, it's such a shame, man, because this is probably like the best D-pad I've used on any fighting game. So if you were to pick up a pad you've never used before and you want a sick D-pad, this is the one to go for you. But for me, this really ruins it for me. I'm having personal problems with the D-pad itself, and that's kind of why it's fallen. It probably would have made first place if I wasn't having the issues. I could have dealt with the buttons, but the D-pad itself, I'm finding I'm having to really exaggerate my inputs. And when you're doing like fireballs and you're doing like dragon punches, you end up jumping. That happens a lot on this pad, I find, for me. And this is me, remember, this is my muscle memory, my experience with the control pad. But I've got to like really exaggerate the quarter circle forward, the quarter circle backwards. It's often when my opponent's on the left hand side, I'll find quarter circle forward when they're on the left hand side, causes sort of issues. So I know with time I can get good with this control pad, and I plan to keep it to, well, I've got obviously keep it all three, but I'll probably get rid of PowerA if I'm honest, which is unfortunate. But this I'll stick with because it's got features, and I'm going to try and get used to the D-pad. I'm going to try and overlook this issue with these. It's not an issue, but it's not my preference because I think the D-pad's fantastic. But you've got to take into account the price tag as well. It's very expensive. I don't like how this feels. I'm getting shady inputs with the D-pad. I know it's early days, but still, it is significant. Like, I'll get what I want sometimes, and then I'll do it again, and I'm only ever so slightly off, and I just don't get what I want. And when I try and overcompensate by going higher, I end up jumping. So it's pretty tricky to get the accuracy with this. So that comes in second place for me. That leaves only one: the Hori Fighting Commander. I never thought I'd say this, with two fight pads coming out in close succession, something I've been asking about for so long, I can't believe this still comes out on top. This control pad, after using the other two and coming back to this pad, it's been amazing. My gameplay itself has just got, I'm playing more, but my gameplay itself is a lot tighter, a lot better, and a lot more accurate. Let's go back over like the points. Yeah, it doesn't have the features, but it's a fight pad. I don't really care about all the fancy features. I've got everything I really need with the button layout and the D-pad. Buttons, feedback, right size, brilliant. Shoulder buttons, feedback. Those are actually a little bit more soft than I remember them being, but these feel great. So these are quite sensitive, but they're nowhere near as sensitive as the, they've got like a really mushy feel to them. It's not like a press, it's like a mush, where the other two pads have this clicky, pressy feel. Mushy, clicky, if that makes sense. So I never get any input errors when it comes to the buttons on the face and the shoulders. Bang on, man. I probably say 100%, like 99% accuracy. The D-pad, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I've been moaning about this D-pad for years, and I've even found ways to like re-stabilize it when it becomes loose. If you have issues with this D-pad, yes, it's small. Yes, it doesn't have the diagonals. But you know what I've realised? If you have issues with inputs on this D-pad, you've messed up, man. Because this D-pad it's lenient, but it's super accurate. You know, there's a lot of leniency. You can make, like, I can input what I want. And even though I may make a tiny input error, I always get what I want. When I mess up, it's because I've pressed the wrong direction altogether. It's often when I do lights. So if I do like a crouching light attack, this is Street Fighter 5, a crouching light into a standing light, I sometimes get 2 crouching attacks. And that's because I'm doing like crouch. So it's often where I do a crouching light kick. I'll crouch and press X, stand light kick, I let go of that, and then I do a fireball, you know, a quarter circle. So what happens is when I press down and X, and I stand and press X, I've already pressed down for the fireball. When I press the second X for my fireball, what happens there is I get 2 crouching light kicks and no fireball, because you can't cancel a crouching light kick into a fireball. It may make no sense if you don't play Street Fighter, but that's on me, man. That's not the pad, that's me messing up. There's some occasions where I jump where I don't want to, but if I'm honest, it's the player, it's not the pad. Yeah, you do get a bit of wobble in it, and that can be annoying. The wobble, once it's been well used, is annoying, but even still, it's not the D-pad, man. It's probably you. So for a good fight pad, this still comes out on top. And to be honest, this will be the fight pad I use moving forward for all my streams and all my gameplay. It'll be this pad, you'll see. I'm still going to invest time in the Mad Cats. Sorry, the Mad Cats. Oh, what did I just say? That's blasphemy. In the Razer control pad, on the Razer control pad. I'm still going to try it, because once I get used to that D-pad, I think I'll get a lot of mileage out of it. I think I will. It may even surpass this control pad once I put the time into that one. But as of yet, the input errors are significant, and it really does affect the experience. So maybe it's me, maybe it's the muscle memory, but I don't know. It feels like I've got to really exaggerate the inputs and really go over the top, which is, it doesn't give me much confidence, if you know what I mean. I'm not 100% sure if what I'm doing is right or not. So it's one to work on. But out of the 3, if you were new to fighting games, I would say without a doubt grab this control pad, because it's cheap, it's got all the features you need, and it does the job really well. But if you want to spend a bit more money, you want the features, and you want like the best D-pad going, then I would say grab this one, because you'll get used to it, and I think with time the D-pad will serve you well. It's just me personally, I'm not having the best experience with it. Probably because I'm used to Hori, but I don't like how I'm having to exaggerate the inputs. Whereas like I go back to the Hori, like I said, I've got leniency, accuracy and leniency with this. And if I don't get my input that I want, I know I've messed up. With this, when I get something I don't want, it feels to me like I'm doing the input correctly. And I'm looking at the inputs on screen, I'm thinking, okay, that looks pretty clean to me, I'm not getting what I want. There's obviously an error in the input, but I'm like, damn, I can do it like 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I'm like, it's inconsistent, it's not coming out as I want, but it feels the same every time. So something I've got to think about with control pad and just invest time in, and then I can give you like more feedback, maybe like a 6 months usage update on this pad. We've already 25 minutes in on this video. I don't really know what else to discuss when it comes to these control pads. It really boils down to personal preference and what you've used in the past, and how you've used them as well. I've got a lot of time in the Hori control pad, and I often blame the pad, but I think now it's time to man up and accept that some of those losses are on me. And if you mess up, you've got to distinguish whether it's the pad or it's you. And from there onwards, you can understand where the problem lies. But yeah, my gameplay with the Hori of late has been amazing. Like, I've been on like the best form I've ever been on. So it obviously shows that I'm capable of doing it. It's not the pad that holds me back. So guys, yeah, I don't want to waffle on anymore. I have a real bad habit, as you guys know, of waffling on. But I hope that's given you like a lot of detailed information about the 3 control pads and my opinion on which one falls where and for why. We've mentioned the other 2 pads. Let's go back to this. Don't overlook this control pad. It's not bad. I think PowerA have done a really good job with this pad, and I love the way it feels. I think for certain people, this D-pad won't be a problem, and I think they'll probably find a lot of mileage in this pad. I don't think it's gonna break on you. The way it's built, that's built for life, not for the Hori's. Kind of last. Depends how well you look after them, but they last about 6 months before the D-pad starts wobbling on the Hori, and then I've seen them pack up after a year, just like buttons stop working. But this feels like it's built for life, so it's a good investment. It's definitely the best looking pad of the 3. I think it looks gorgeous, man. It's very Sega Saturn inspired. I love the matte finish, the gloss buttons. Yeah, so don't overlook it, but you've got to try them out for yourself. That's the main takeaway from this is listen to what I'm saying, but still think about what works for you, what your preference is. Look at how big your hands are, how do you hold the pad, and then try and get your hands on one if you can. A local events, tournaments, friends, try them out, see how they feel. If you can avoid it, sometimes you're gonna have to bite the bullet and buy them, and it may not work out, but you know, use your brain, man, do your research before you buy. Guys, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for watching. I know I've spoken a lot about control pads. We're very passionate about pads on this channel, but that's probably gonna be the last video for a while on pads. We'll do like a 6-month review of the Razer once I've had some more time on it. But guys, thank you for watching. Any questions, any queries, any feedback of your own, please just drop them in the comment section, and we can discuss in more detail, because I've had a lot of success stories from some people on the PowerA pads. That's really, it's good feedback. That is good to pass that feedback on. So yeah, let me know your own experience with the control pads. Let me know your own opinions, and any questions, just ask away. Guys, thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed the video. I shall catch you probably in a future stream. So guys, take care. I will speak to you soon.